Hello and welcome back everyone to Master Game Design, Unreal Engine 5 Stylized environment and third-person blueprint course. In last lesson we left ourselves off by creating this section over here on the end, and we also created a bit of a beveling section for this end of the harbor. So now we're going to continue on with the building itself. We're going to go ahead and start building this part over here, and the first thing that we're going to do is just simply we're going to start with the base. Since it's easiest to do, then we're going to just grab the second part and finish it off with the roof, and then afterwards we're going to attach this section over here, which is going to be a rather simple task. All we need to do is just make use out of the modular pieces and set ourselves up with a nice building. Of course, we're going to make use out of this back over here. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to probably first of all see which type of a wall we should grab for this section. I'm going to go ahead and check that real quick. And yeah, it seems like it's going to be a bit more of a wider wall, and then afterwards it's going to be a bit of a shorter wall. So let's go ahead and see what we can do to make use out of it. This seems to be like a good wall. Just in case though, I'm going to hold Alt, move it to the side and see if it actually is going to fit it, or if it's going to be a little bit too big for this section. So let me just go ahead and do that. For now, I'm not worried about doors or anything of the sort. I'm just interested in seeing the overall shape, the width and whatnot, and seeing if it's actually going to look quite alright. And yeah, it seems to be like it's going to be quite the right size. So I'm going to click Ctrl Z real quick, go all the way to the back, like so, and actually there you go, just going to go all the way back to this section, or even further back. So all the way on the back, we're going to start just building it over here. We're going to actually just hold Alt, bring this wall, so this one over here, that's what I'm using. I'm going to just bring it over here, and then I'm going to hold Alt and start just rotating this, clicking E, rotating this 90 degrees, since we're locked down to the angles. I'm making sure that it's always set to 10, since it makes it easier to rotate it by 90 degrees and whatnot. Sometimes I would change it to 15 just so I could get the 45 angles degrees, so it would go diagonally. In this case, it's not really relevant, but it's something I would do every once in a while. And yeah, let me just go ahead and start building this out. When I create this type of a triangle, I usually would just start adding like pillars, for example, on this end as well. And for that, I will make use out of, if I were to find the pillars, so where would they be? There you go, the pillars. We're just going to make use out of, I think the longer one, that's the one we need to use. Let me just go ahead and grab this, hold Alt, and bring it out to the side. And we're just going to put it up on this ledge over here, just like that. We're going to hold Alt, bring it to the other side, and just like that we created ourselves a very basic type of a look. And now while holding Shift, we're going to select all of them just like that, and we can hold Alt, grab it to the side, click E, rotate it by 90 degrees, or sorry, 180 degrees, and click W and just reattach it back on. And because we already set these pillars up and whatnot, it's actually quite easy to just mirror this entire part. We're going to see if it looks quite alright. Seems to be looking quite alright. Okay, so next thing that we need to do is just add a top section, of course. The top section is going to be, I think, one of the roofs. So we can just grab the largest square. We don't need anything fancy. We're going to hold Alt. We're going to put it up to the side. And this section is going to be close to the harbor and whatnot. So I'm just going to keep it more sturdy looking and whatnot to make sure it doesn't look like it's going to be smashed by a couple of waves and just fall off by itself or something like that. I'm going to check real quick if we need anything extra. We could grab smaller ones and turn them into a larger one, because ideally I'd want to kind of break up the surface a little bit, have more of a balcony coming off to the side. So I can either grab another version of this, or I could just make this large. I think that's going to be quite alright. Actually, I will use only X and Y, not the Z value. For the main reason for it is mainly because I don't want this to be too thick in regards to its height. So that's going to be quite alright. Okay, so this is looking quite nice. Now we're going to go ahead and grab some of the extras. We're going to make sure we actually grab yeah, we're going to grab some of the, if I were to find it next to the staircase, perhaps. No. So what I'm looking for right now is just simply help us to kind of break off the balcony look for this section. And that's going to be within, there you go, arches. So we're going to grab some of those. We're just going to grab all 3 of these pieces over here. Going to hold Alt and going to just put it up to the side, just like that. All right, and let's now see what we can do with it. I'm going to just mainly work on one side, and just like I did previously with the walls, I'm going to then copy them around. Let me just go ahead and do that. So, or actually before doing that, ideally I'd want to, I will do that later. I wanted to just group everything up, and we can go into that though later in a bit. We're going to just simply work on this structure for starters. Get ourselves a nice look out of it. So let's see if the shorter one is needed for this section. I'm going to hold Alt. It's going to look quite alright. And I think so, yeah, we'll need to make use out of this extra one. And then we can just copy this one on the corner, put it off to the side. Let's see how this actually looks like. And we might not even need this extra one. I'm just going to go ahead and delete it. And what I'm going to do right now is just I'm going to grab these two. I'm going to hit R, and I'm just going to extend them just a little bit. They're not going to be too obvious. Something like this. And I will actually take off the scaling mode for this particular reason, because I just want it to be nicely scaled up. Something like that. Going to lower down the grid itself a little bit. So I could position it nicely. And I think, yeah, that looks quite nice. Okay, so I'm going to tick on the scaling grid as well, back on. Going to select these ones in the middle, and I'm going to select one on the edge as well. Then I'm going to hold Alt, going to duplicate it, and this time I'm just going to position it like so. And this should give us a nice type of a result. So let's go ahead and see if it will. Might need to grab it a little bit closer, just like that. I'm going to check if it actually, yeah, it's not perfect, because the reason being is we want those ridges off on the side. So this one actually needs to be a bit further, just like that. So I will actually go ahead and delete this and redo it real quick, because I need to readjust this part a little bit. And just like that. I will need to turn off the scaling, snapping again, just so we could have something like this. Yeah, I think that looks quite alright. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and grab these. I'm going to turn on back the scale snapping, so for the future we won't have an issue with them. And yeah, let's go ahead and simply attach it back to how we had it. I'm going to go ahead and just slightly move it in. There you go. Nice attachment. And for the final one, I can probably just copy this entire part over here. I'm going to hold Alt and then simply rotate it around. So it's always mainly about this kind of optimization and whatnot. And it seems like I grabbed the wrong corner, but that's okay. Or maybe I didn't even need a corner. So it's going to be actually okay, since I can just delete that extra corner over on the side. And yeah, as you can see, I just made sure I grabbed the right selection, made the right rotation, and it just simplifies things. Instead of just doing it individually, we can speed up the workflow quite a bit. All right, so the bottom bit, let's go ahead and hold Shift and select all of these bottom pieces. And I'm just looking at this, making sure that this is nicely extended like so. It didn't look like it was extended all the way. And this needs to be extended all the way as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Looks better. Okay, so let's go ahead and hold Shift, make sure that we select all of them, just like that. And this looks quite all right. Going to hold Alt, going to just put it upwards, like so. And I would like to check actually if this should be a little bit smaller or not. This seems to be, yeah, this seems to be quite a bit smaller overall. So actually we'll need to set up a different floor for this. And no, actually, what we're going to do is we're going to keep it simple. We're just going to scale it down a little bit, and then we're going to change up the pillars. That's going to help us out overall. So we basically created a nice floor, but it's going to be a little bit too large overall. So what we're going to do is we're just going to grab actually I'm going to click Ctrl Z, make sure that the selection for this is still on. Going to go to the scaling mode, and I'm just going to scale it down a little bit actually. Just by a tiny amount, something like so. And maybe reposition even the angle. Just like that. And I think that's going to be quite alright. Okay, so fix this up real quick. I will go ahead and click Ctrl Z to go back to the default scale, since this scale is going to be more for the base, and the ones above need to be a little bit shorter in that regard. So it's actually quite simple and easy to adjust and modify once we have like a box like this. So what I'm going to do is, well, for starters, I'm going to clean it up a little bit, and I don't want the selection to be like to disappear, because it makes it so much easier to work with it afterwards. I'm going to click Ctrl G, which groups up this entire selection. Now when I click off of it and click back on it, all of the selection gets selected back onto our basically entire group. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. Now we have this entire group selected. We're going to use this for the base, but for the top, it needs to be a little bit thinner in that case. Luckily, it's quite easy to do. All we gotta do is just simply replace some of those walls with alternative variation, which are going to be over here. But that's something we're going to do in the next lesson. So thank you so much for watching, and